So one of the main obstacles with the third-person mount is that it can be pretty daunting to use at first. So you definitely have to get used to wearing it before you get on the mountain. So it's really important to kind of try and get used to putting it on by yourself, walking around with it, and just kind of getting through the basic setup. Now you're just gonna kind of make sure you have your lock straps facing up, or in this case, we'll just make sure this yellow string is pointed downward, so when we lock it, this is going up. So left side first, then right side, Velcro's right on. Now another thing, before you definitely want to get in the mountain, another reason why you should put this on before you get out there is so you can sort of pre-measure your belts. That way you're not sort of fidgeting and trying to get them to line up when you're out there. So that way you can get them on and they can snap right on. Now it's gonna feel a little tight at first. It might feel a little uncomfortable, but honestly, it's not uncomfortable at all to me. I actually don't mind wearing this in sort of long sessions. Done hikes with it and stuff like that, left it on all day, kind of hides my belly. So it's got that added benefit. But what I've done is I've left the sort of extra locking grips go through the back here, at least one of them. So we're just gonna pull that out if I can find them. But yeah, another one of the reasons why you should set this up a few times before you get out there, because it's kind of beneficial to have a friend with you to kind of help you sort of mount this and stuff like that until you're fully used to what angles do and don't work. Because that's the thing you're going to run into a lot of times, is that you're not going to find an angle that really works for you, and it's a lot of trial and error. And also getting this first bar on by yourself for the first 2 or 3 times is kind of a hassle. I generally like to start with it facing straight up, so I'll loosen this up and make it into a 90-degree turn here real quick. And we have this little star-shaped pattern that will just sort of plug into your back here. Again, this is a little easier once you've started to put it on once or twice, but it still takes a little bit to get in. So once it's in, you're going to press this little button right here, this little gray one. It should go to the up position, and now it's fully locked. And this is where we'll take our... No, actually, you know what, we'll wait till we're done angling it to put these little locking things on, because we're going to move this bar around, and if we put these on and tighten it up and then we want to go and loosen it a little back or put it to the little right, all of these need to be readjusted at that point. So this is the guy though where you're going to wish you had a friend nearby. Now I only have the one GoPro today. I had another camera, but I forgot the extra mount. But the camera is going to attach to this ball head mount here, which you probably should get when you pick this guy up. It's definitely the preferred mount for me. It can just sort of angle it around, and it's a lot better than the bar mount. It's just a lot more versatile, and I couldn't honestly see using this conveniently in another way. So again, another one of those spots when you're first playing around with this, to have a friend, because it's hard to reach around and do this. But this part lifts up, this slides in. I usually like to put the bar facing away from me, and then this pushes in, but it's really tight and really hard to push down, to the point where I can kind of feel like I'm stretching my my palm muscles. So if there's a future iteration, we'd like to see something done about this. And then from here, it's all about finding the right angle that works for you. So this is where we'll start playing around with this while it's on our back. We can kind of loosen it real quick. If we want to take it off real quick and use it as a sort of handheld pole, we could just push this little gray button down, release. I have a third-person pole, but honestly, that's not super practical. The best thing about this quick release is that you can quickly take it off when you're coming down a difficult part of your trail. So the quick release for me is just really convenient for that. And then we're going to try and fit this back on here. All right, so again, snaps back in. I found kind of a good spot is to go kind of like one notch back. It's kind of hard to feel exactly what one notch is, but once you find it, you'll get used to it. And for this test, since I've never really done it, I'm going to try angling it a little bit. So we're going to unlock it again, pull it out, and then we're going to rotate it. And again, it's a star-shaped pattern, so we'll just sort of rotate it once to the right. That feels really far over, but the nice thing is we have this sort of bent bar. So again, we'll force this thing open, which again I hate, really tough. We'll kind of get this in a way where I'm going to see the pole sort of facing me and stuff like that. So you kind of see it's going to be like that. It sticks out pretty far. So if you're going to do anything that's kind of off to the side, make sure you're in a wide open trail. If you're going down a bike trail, make sure it's wide open. I can definitely see this be super beneficial when you're snowboarding, because when you're snowboarding, you have nice wide open trails for the most part, unless you're going through tree lines. So we'll set this up and we'll kind of get this bobblehead mount in a position that we think is facing us and level. And this is where if you have sort of a wrist-based LCD, or you have your phone, you're going to connect your phone and kind of check your mount while you're doing this. Now you could do more extreme angles that are lower to the ground, but the problem is when you go to reach down, you can't really reach the camera. That's again another spot where if you're setting this up, make sure you have a friend around that's sort of not going to totally make fun of you when you're doing this. It's going to look kind of goofy. You're going to have to get used to a lot of people giving you these type of stares or saying, "What is that?" You know, we've had a lot of times where we just kind of have random people come up to us and ask what it is and give us their comment on how they feel for it. But the thing is, if you're on your own and you want a cool third-person perspective of what you're doing, this is the most steady one on the market. And then if you add in this sort of extra sort of support thing that I just kind of messed up a little here, it can lead to some really cool results. So we're gonna try and tighten this up here so it doesn't shake around as much. Kind of stays nice and tight to my back. You will notice some wobbling, especially when you're pedaling and stuff like that. It's not a steady cam. It is pretty much what you expect it is. It's just, it's a little more durable than I expected. It's a lot more comfortable in this area than I expected. Reaching for this is something I didn't kind of get used to, and this is really big. Like if you have a normal sized backpack like this guy, it's gonna fit in here nice and stay nice and tight. But generally I have a backpack that's much smaller than this. I don't like to bring a lot of gear. So in those instances, I kind of wish there was a second pole that was maybe not as long, but if that were the case, then I'm not really gonna get my third person perspective. So kind of really just benefits me to keep the longer package and then just take it out when I need it. And it also might benefit you to kind of plan your shots ahead of time. Like for this, I planned on doing this sort of third person mount. I knew how to set it up beforehand. Don't go into this and kind of randomly do it. Try and plan out your shots a little bit, and you'll kind of appreciate it once you're out there and towards the end of the day. So yeah, let's mess around with this guy. We got it all locked up and tight in here. We'll just pull this cord and yeah, let's try it out. Okay, so now that we got the camera all set up on the third person view mount, I'm going to use my phone here to sort of tell how my video is looking. Now I'm thinking maybe it's a little angled, it needs to go a little too horizon-wise, kind of slanting downward, so we'll just adjust it here. Everything looks good for the most part, and yeah, I can be done with the phone, but I'm just going to keep this in my pocket for now. Again, one of the things about the third person mount is it's very daunting to kind of just get into. I actually let this sit around on my floor for about a month figuring out what am I going to do with this, how am I going to show it off, and honestly, could I do anything cool enough to really show it off? But I came to realize, like, once you start using it, you get really comfortable with it real fast, and it adds a lot of cool perspectives, and you can change it on the fly, especially when it's in the position it's in now. But the one thing I'll notice is, like, when I'm walking, I feel like it's shaking a lot and stuff like that. And that's a little off-putting. It doesn't matter how tight I make these, it's always going to kind of be like that. But when you start using this footage and you do a lot of inserts when you're looking at like vistas like this, it's really cool because it's a perspective that you don't normally get. This mount in the new GoPro filming for pros that we'll show a picture of here, this mount is referred to a lot as sort of the secret weapon, the secret mount that you didn't know about. And honestly, like the guys that I've dealt with for this mount, it's pretty cool. They're I can't pronounce his name, obviously. It's like Thygis or Thygis, or really awesome guy, really cares. A lot of this stuff is handmade by him, and I got a bundle that came with a bunch of other stuff, and it was all really daunting. And then I just started using it, and it works out pretty well. I will say again, the sort of bar stuff is kind of difficult to get used to, this sort of wobbling back and forth. And honestly, just having a friend that's really supportive of, you know, whatever GoPro filmography you're doing definitely helps. But yeah, cutting in stuff like this makes an edit really cool. And then as long as you're responsible about it and know its limits when you're going down a trail like we're about to do, you can come up with some pretty cool shots. And when it comes to filming and walking, sometimes holding this bar will make you feel a little better. I also prefer filming at 1440 at 30 frames a second. That way we have more headroom here and we don't miss any of the action. Now if you're filming with 4K at 16:9 aspect ratio instead of this 4:3, definitely use that phone. Double check, triple check that angle before you get on the trail. Because the worst thing you're gonna want is when you get home and realize the camera was slanted the whole time. Nobody wants that, so. That looks definitely slanted. So yeah, keep that in mind. We're just gonna sort of adjust this on the fly right now. And hope it looks good. Pretty nice. And the nice thing is with it on the side here is I can quickly switch it to photo mode. So a lot of this is just experimenting. Again, the more time you have with this camera to kind of see how these angles are. Originally I set it up with it like this, but my body's going to be leaning down. These are things you kind of get used to, but you just got to keep playing around with it. You can't just try it out once and expect to become an expert. So yeah, just play around with it as much as you can before you get out there. Anyway guys, this has been our quick look and review of Sail Video Systems third-person view mount. Awesome guys, they've been super supportive. Well, not really supportive, but they've been super cool. They're really good with communication, and they really want the community to sort of participate with them, and the guys over at GoPro seem to really dig them. So anyway, check out their stuff, even if you're not super interested. Awesome guys, awesome community. I'm Moorcock, I'll see you out there.